Hey guys, Anthony here, Bibles and Barbells. Today's video, actually today is August 8th, 2020. It's Saturday. And in today's video, we're going to talk about what I briefly mentioned in my video yesterday that I posted. We were going to talk about or get more information on the China EMP threat to the United States. And this document that I'm getting the information from, that I'm going to read partially from, is a 14-page document. I'll put the link in the description box, any available links, so that you could go and see the document for yourself. It's entitled The China EMP Threat, the People's Republic of China Military Doctrine, Plans and Capabilities for Electromagnetic Pulse EMP Attack, by Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, Executive Director, EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security, June 10th, 2020. So let's just briefly talk about what I mentioned yesterday, and actually what happened in New York City. I believe it was the day before yesterday. There was an electric failure, power failure in the city. The grid went down. Con Edison, which is the local New York energy company, was looking into it. I don't know much about it. I haven't really looked into it. But when the power goes down, there are a lot of potential hazards that can happen. And so we see how fragile our systems are here in the United States. I think that a lot of our leaders are either don't have the time, they're not willing, they don't want to address it. They don't want to take the time, the energy, and the mental focus and fortitude to address this problem that we have with EMP threats now, especially from China, which poses, I believe, and I think this article, or this paper, when you read it, you'll come to the same conclusion, that we are under a, if this were to happen to the United States, whether it was the whole country or a large portion of the country, the major cities, etc., we would be in a lot of problems, a lot of trouble, especially with what is taking place now in our country, with the rioting, the political upheaval, the violence perpetrated against regular, everyday Americans, the insurgency that's taking place, the communist insurgency that's taking place. This could catapult it. An EMP attack can catapult that to a whole nother dimension. So I'm going to get into this, and I've just highlighted several areas on the paper that I want to talk about. So the Chinese military doctrine, EMP attack decisive. China has long known about nuclear high altitude electromagnetic pulse, which is abbreviated HEMP, all capital letters, HEMP, and invested in protecting military forces and critical infrastructures from HEMP and other nuclear weapons effects during the Cold War and continuing today. It goes on to say, with their massive destructiveness, long-range nuclear weapons have combined with highly sophisticated information technology and information warfare under nuclear deterrence. The critical weapons, such as atomic bombs, will have first strike and second strike retaliation capabilities. As soon as its computer networks come under attack and are destroyed, the country will slip into a state of paralysis, and lives of its people will ground to a halt. So this part of the reading is saying that China should focus on measures to counter computer viruses, nuclear electromagnetic pulse, and quickly achieve breakthroughs in those technologies in order to equip China without delay with equivalent deterrents that all enable it to stand up to a military powers in the information age and neutralize and check the deterrence of Western powers, including the United States. So China has embarked on, and this has been going on for a long time, building up its infrastructure, its nuclear capabilities, its underground bunkers and tunnels and infrastructure, if you will. And then China's military doctrine closely associates cyber attacks with nuclear HMP attack as part of a combined operation in what they call total information warfare. And so what the paper goes on to say is that China can do a dual-pronged attack, an EMP that would perhaps detonate above our atmosphere or in the air, and then a secondary or another strike that would attack our computer systems directly, our grid, our computer grid. Cyber bugs are the tip of the spear. Here's what I want you to pay close attention to. China's military doctrine closely associates cyber attacks with a hemp attack as part of a combined operation in what they call total information warfare. Cyber bugs and hacking are the tip of the spear. So cyber bugs and hacking, computer hacking, which they did to us recently. I believe it was in 2015 in June. So they are the tip of the spear, much like the equivalent of scouts and sappers are, who do reconnaissance and secretly prepare the beaches for the arrival of D-Day, or like a motorcycle troop that preceded the heavy armored divisions in Germany's Blitzkrieg. So this tip of the spear attack, these cyber bugs, these computer attacks would therefore pave the way for a much larger hemp attack, high altitude EMP attack. Let's see. There's a lot of information in this 14-page document. I don't want to go through it all. According to the article, there are three types of military EMP based on pulse sources. The first is a high altitude EMP produced by the detonation of low yield nuclear bomb in the atmosphere at a high altitude. The second is produced by high explosives and related devices. The third is the HPM, high powered microwave devices such as megatrons and vercatators. Nuclear EMP weapons are or include enhanced EMP or so-called super EMP weapons designed to produce gamma rays and high frequency E1 EMP. Hemp weapons are a type of weak nuclear explosive EMP bomb that produces EMP through detonation of low yield nuclear bombs at high altitudes 70 to 100 kilometers above the ground. E1 EMP field produced by nuclear EMPs is about 10 to 100 kVm and can penetrate and melt electronic components. So they're putting in place systems that can offer multiple prong type of attacks. China has these weapons. Their leadership has said that they will use them. And hemp appears to be a key to victory in China's military doctrine against U.S. aircraft carriers. This is really important because, and also against Taiwan, because our aircraft carriers right now are in the South China Sea, I believe. And one of the ways, several of the ways they think they could put down an aircraft carrier or render it powerless. Number one, as a big target, the fleet is easy for a satellite reconnoiter and locate it, and for missiles to conduct saturation attacks. So they can locate the ship and conduct attacks on it. A high degree of electronization is like an Achilles heel for an aircraft carrier fleet, which relies heavily on electronic equipment as its central nervous system. So they're saying they could put out that electronic equipment. Strong magnetic field and electromagnetic pulse caused by an explosion can destroy all important integrated circuits on that ship. The scope of demolition and effective action are wide-reaching, dozens of kilometers. The equivalent is damaged without casualties. So they could render the ship useless without causing casualties, as the bomb or the EMP can explode kilometers above where the ship is. If the central nervous system of an aircraft carrier is paralyzed, even a comparatively backward naval vessel or aircraft will be able to aim at the aircraft carrier as a conventional target, thereby thoroughly changing the balance between the strong and the weak. So you see how their thinking is going. Put out the muscle might of the aircraft carrier, if need be, render it less operational or useless, and then attack it with more conventional type weapons. So this is pretty striking, guys, when you look at this article. It goes on to talk about hypersonic weapons that the Chinese have, and there's a chart at the end of this document or the end of this paper that you'll see. China has several large hypersonic weapons that can meet or reach our shores in the United States. There's hypersonic glide vehicles, or HGVs. I won't get into much about that. And hypersonic cruise missiles. So these are missiles that can travel from 5 times the speed of sound, or 6,200 kilometers per hour, to 25,000 kilometers per hour. It goes on to say these are unprecedented threat to strategic stability and the balance of power. This is pretty striking. The DoD's Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, Michael Griffin, in April of 2018, testified to the Senate Armed Services Committee that China had deployed or is close to deploying hypersonic systems armed with conventional warheads. These can travel thousands of miles from the U.S. coast and threaten American forward bases or carrier battle groups. Griffin warned, "We do not have defenses against these systems." He warned that back in 2018. Now, whether we've met or have increased our ability to defend ourselves against that remains to be seen. But at that point, Griffin was warning the DoD on this threat. China also is able to, and it talks about here, to have these hemp weapons on board satellites that are rotating the globe. And so if detonated from a satellite, it won't necessarily damage the other satellites or the satellite orbits, as it'll deploy below that and blow up below that and push downward. So it goes on to talk about that as well. Very scary stuff here, guys. And I think that with all that's going on, and I mentioned yesterday in my video, there's so many threats going on, and this trade war between the United States and China is really heating up. The president is going, he's signing executive orders to ban certain apps that China has developed. He's going out of his way to talk about that he's bent on ridding China's influence in America. And so that could be alarming and excite the Chinese. And this could be the end result. Something like this could be the end result if tensions grew higher and China wanted to do a first strike type of attack on us. And if they did, it says here, the U.S., this is on page 8, the U.S. should be very concerned about a scenario where China uses nuclear space weapons, perhaps ICBMs or IRBMs with specialized warheads, to quickly sweep the skies of U.S. satellites, even at the risk of losing PRC satellites, People's Republic of China satellites, which could then be replaced with a surge of satellites launched by China to capture the high frontier and cripple U.S. military capability. So what that's saying is destroy the U.S. satellites, even at the cost of destroying their own, and then surge more satellites into orbit to replace the ones they destroyed of their own. If China is orbiting nuclear-armed satellites for HMP surprise attack, this would be one of their deepest and best protected secrets. So they're not going to openly advertise this, is what it's saying. And China has gone on the record to talk about that it will not or does not have an interest in being a first strike capable. I think that's just words they wanted to put out there. It's just disinformation or propaganda. They will, in fact, and their generals have stated, and their leaders have stated, that they will perform a first strike if they see threats from the United States as fast approaching. So that's a fictitious or just a statement that they make. It's not worth its weight, is what I'm saying, is what the article says as well, what the report says. Much like it compares it much like to Russia's, no first strike doctrine during the Cold War. It's almost certainly disinformation, they go on to say. And it talks extensively about that in the paper here. China's, wants to win on the battlefield, defeat U.S. aircraft carriers, achieve against the U.S. homeland a surprise. Pearl Harbor writ large is replete with technical and operational planning consistent with a nuclear first strike. So what it's saying is they have and probably have a plan that if they had to attack us like a Pearl Harbor attack with HEMPs combined with, what I talked about earlier, the computer viruses as a first wave. In 2020, a panel of China's military experts threatened to punish the U.S. Navy ships for challenging China's illegal annexation of the South China Sea by making an EMP attack one of those options they considered least provocative because the crew would be unharmed. So they've talked about this. The leaders of China have talked about this, and I believe they're very serious. So in getting ready to close here, the last couple of pages show China's ballistic missiles, and they number them with the scope of their range based on the world as a world map in different colors. And you're looking at missiles number 7, 8, 9, and 10 that are fully capable of traveling great distances, with 10, the DF-5A/5B can travel 13,000 kilometers, which I believe is over 8,000 miles. So that missile is able, and all of their missiles from the DF-5 that I just mentioned all the way down to the DF-11 are capable of EMP attack, and they're also capable of being armed with nuclear and or non-nuclear type warheads. So what does this mean? This means, friends, that we have to be vigilant as a nation. We have to be on our toes as a people. We have to urge our leaders to take these threats seriously, to help mitigate or help our defenses against these threats. And the way I see it, the way our leaders are portraying themselves now, for the most part, as I talked about yesterday, I believe many of them are friends with China, sympathetic to China, or downright on China's payroll. So we have a lot to worry about as a people here in the United States. And if something like this did happen to us, now and moving forward with the economic problems that we're having, the country collapsing, the dollar collapsing, China and Russia developing or becoming less dependent on the dollar themselves and striking agreements between themselves to come up with their own world, their own currencies that are not dependent on the dollar, like much of the world, like oil trading is dependent on the dollar. Everything is traded in dollars. China and Russia are moving away from that steadily. So sanctions against the U.S. and the U.S. being able to stop their banking infrastructure, because all the banking transactions have to come through U.S. banks. So they're getting away from that and more dependent on themselves and one another. So that's something we should be concerned about as China postures itself for world dominance. So if and when an EMP or HEMP attack did happen, we would have it would have devastating effects on the country. We don't have transformers sitting on the shelf to rebuild the system, this complex system that we have. This electrical grid can't be just turned on overnight. And also our military is dependent on the electric grid as well. And from what I understand, there is not too much interdependency from the U.S. military to act on its own grid. They just don't have the capability that I know of. Jonathan Hollerman has a lot of papers written on this. He has dedicated a lot of time and energy into putting this out there. I'll put his link in the description box too. He's a prepper, and he talks about this EMP threat extensively in his writings, and he believes that it's something we should really take serious, and I agree with him. And so I'll put this paper, this link, any other necessary links. I want you to start looking at it and think to yourself, if the grid did go down, how would I operate? Am I prepped in such a way that I could mitigate the dangers that would come about if this happened? It would truly bring us down very fast and truly make it much more dangerous to operate with other people not being ready. Most Americans are not ready for this. They would be hungry, thirsty, hordes of people starving, hordes of people looking for food and resources. If it happened in the winter, of course, heating would be a problem, freezing would be a problem. And so there are lots of deaths that will take place if China did unleash something like this, or even a rogue, terrorist group. Maybe they'll make it. Maybe they would make it to look like that. So, thanks for watching. Comments, questions, read the article, share it, and just start thinking about it. It's something that can definitely happen to us in the near future, and it's something that our military and our leaders have to really take serious, and I don't think they are. So, something to think about, something very important to think about, and thinking about the future of this country. It's something that is very real and can affect us all. God bless. Stay ready. Anthony signing off.